Yeah, one of the things that you said to me when we were talking, well, between segments here is, don't knock yourself out, stay in the game.
Yeah, so that's just an old phrase. A drinking buddy of mine, we used to always say, it's just like just stay in the game, because it'll turn and you'll go on a run. Like, don't knock yourself out and doing your tank, kind of just chasing things. Just wait and stay in the game, and the bet will come. You back one winner, then all of a sudden you start rolling again, start going forward.
Like the old betting shop, trying to get out on the bumper.
Oh no! Stay away from that chasing.
Now we're going back to your rules of betting. You said a skill isolation is not as good as being average at a lot. So if you concentrate on one thing, if you're average at a lot of things, you explain that a bit more.
Well, so if you're like, I think this kind of affects the especially the speed figure sectional guys. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a good angle. It's a nice way to analyse the game. But if you're relying on that for bets, well, you're stuck then with, well, is there someone doing it better than you? And if there's someone doing it better than you, well, you're not going to make any money. So you should just have that as one part of your analysis, and then, like, okay, well, what's the rest? But like, if you're like, a good example would be, if I tried to build a racing model tomorrow, well, great, you've built a racing model, but there's probably 10,000 people better at building a model than me. So what value is it? So if you're doing anything niche like that, like speed figures or ratings or anything like that, well, like, are you going to be in the top 200 people doing it? Like, it's unlikely. So you're better off to be more balanced and have a range of way of looking at races, or looking at sports and looking at markets, and go from there.
Okay, when you say building a racing model, what do you mean?
Well, I'm just saying, like guys that build algorithms to bet on racing.
Okay, and also, you're not ABC form students. You're not a fan.
No, I love those guys. I love those guys, because they're just on Twitter every night, and it's like, oh, look at this horse, he's back below his winning mark, he's got a claimer on, he's 7-1, and like, it's already priced in. Like, I mean, it's just, what's your angle? Like, there's no angle.
Now, one that sounds quite sinister, and you did touch on it in the previous, didn't pick you up on it then, we pick you up on it now, dark pools. What's this about?
Well, it's just like, we were talking earlier about the how efficient is the BSP at the minute, and there's definitely some doubt out there with the smarter people that I would talk to as to how efficient it is at the minute. No, I'm not saying it's inefficient, but if you're grading all your bets against BSP, well, fine, it's a good way to do it, but yeah, I wouldn't be convinced that every BSP is as pure as maybe it was 2 years ago, because best way I can say it is, the smarter your money is, the less likely you are to put it into the betting market, into the Betfair, or into a bookmaker that might move it into Betfair or into the market. So you're always looking for a darker way to do it. So you're just trying to move it, like I'm sure there's a lot of these WhatsApp private layers. Like, I bet they're getting ran over more money, and some of them probably don't even know it. It's getting mixed in there, because you always just want to move your money where no one's going to take notice of it.
And is that going to be more of a case now that it's difficult for you to get big lumps on because of the checks and the affordability and that sort of thing?
I don't worry about that stuff, because I mean, I'm not a massive punter per se. I mean, I'll turn over a good chunk of money over the year, but I mean, I'm not looking for massive bets on any one horse. I mean, I just like to, I kind of have, I kind of grind away, and then, okay, if there's one, I'll have a go, but I'm not looking for that size bet every time. So I mean, it's not really a problem for me.
But you said earlier that survival is your main thing.
Yeah.
But do you want to go on an constantly up trajectory where that's going to be a problem for you at some point?
Well, yeah, of course you'd like to, but the reality is that, like, once, like you're saying earlier about having the self-confidence when you're going bad, like, I also get doubts when I'm on a really good run, because I'll go, this can't last, this won't last. So you back a couple of losers, then you go, oh God, is that it now? Has it turned? So it's just going to be peaks and troughs. So, like, can I spin it up to a massive amount? I don't know. I mean, I'll be happy to just grind it out. That'll do me.
Do you think it's possible to become that steely person where those sort of thoughts don't creep into your head? Would that make a perfect gambler if you just try to be like Mr. Spock and think logically?
I don't know, because like, I suppose, I mean, isn't that what we'll say a quant is doing when they're betting? They're just betting numbers, and they're being completely cold. But don't they then kind of lose some nuance as well? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could argue either side of that.
Okay, now something that anybody over the age of you would be pleased about: seeking out elders. Why do you want to seek out the old boys?
Because that's where the experience is. So they're the guys that, they're the guys that have, they've lost every way. So if I'm talking to a guy that's 18 or 20 in betting, I can tell him a lot of pitfalls, as well as the same way as if I talk to the guys who are 20, 30 years punting. They're going to have a lot to teach me. Like a good example is when I left Penny Power that time, a guy contacted me, and he was like, could we do a bit of work together? And we ended up working together for maybe 2.5, 3 years, where we just had 50% of each other's action. And like, he was 16 years punting at the time, and I mean, like, he taught me so much about just that, like, surviving. And when it's going bad, tell the missus, we have to tighten the belt, and all these things. And like, he'd say to me, like, he had to reinvent himself 4 or 5 times, and he says, don't worry if you have to do it. And he just maybe without his advice, I wouldn't have lasted. I wouldn't have survived. Maybe I'd have been out of the game much quicker. But so that's why it's important. You just can't beat experience.
And anyone whose brains you would like to pick or like to have picked and haven't or won't be able to now?
Like in terms of punters.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, there's only one, isn't there? The great man. That's it. End the question.
I'm not going to guess. I'm assuming that's Barney.
No, the great man. Oh, stop.
Who's the great man?
JP.
Oh,
Cliffy.
Well, you don't think Barney was a bit shrewder?
No, he was. But I think he's told his story though. JP's never told his, really.
No.
No, I mean, God, yeah, of course. I mean, Barney's still number one, but to be fair to me, at least he's put a bit down on the record, whereas the green and gold, not so much.
You think that's ever going to come out?
No, never.
Right. Now, the real bits of advice that you didn't include, because I know what you professional punters or punters that aren't professional but do it for a living are a bit secretive. So there must be a golden rule that you thought, I'm not going to share this with these people.
No, but the like if I was if it kind of, if you said like, well, if you were doing the list now, what would be what would be on it? But like the one thing, and it's literally the biggest mistake I've made in the last 2 years, and it's has it happened to me twice? It's definitely happened to me once, maybe twice. But when you get a contact, right, and he's just gold, right, and you print it, and you get the God complex, and you think you're never going to have a poor day again, and you start, you just start like, you're betting like maybe 5 times more than what you were and everything. It's look, which is fine, right? Because you're on a hot streak. This guy is absolute gold dust, but then you forget. Well, what was the other stuff I used to bet on? Because you're just so focused on this because it's so good that you lose sight of what you were doing on a day-to-day basis, because you're just so focused on that. And then when that goes wrong, you're just kind of left naked, because you're, God, how used I bet before? Because you just forget. You're just like, oh God, what used to be my angle? So I definitely got caught with that, where it was maybe summer 2 years ago, where, I mean, like we were the warmest money in town for a while in what we were doing, and it was brilliant. But when it turned and I kept the pedal down, and it was a costly winter, and you get to Christmas, then you're like, God Almighty, what am I going to do next year? Like, I mean, geez, can I even remember how I used to bet? Or am I going to stick with this guy? Or so, like, to summarize is, don't go all in on one. Don't go all in on one angle, one contact, one method. Make sure you keep your eye in on the rest of the stuff, because there's always going to be bets there.
Okay, it was sort of leads on to some of the questions I had there. Really, how near to the edge of the cliff do you get before deciding not to follow somebody over it?
Oh, I've been over it. I've gone over it with him. Gone over it with him, and we're still off it. But no, I mean, look, you either believe someone's good or you don't. So yeah, I'll just go over the cliff with them. I don't care.
So you can't be sure that a red hot news source isn't just having a purple patch until you find out the hard way.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, you have to go. You have to go through those bad times as well, and you have to, like, if you just sack off everyone after a bad run, well, you're just going to be left reading the Racing Post every day. So yeah, I'll stick with them. Provided I'm convinced that they're good.